Hey folks, I think I'm live. I'm just double checking to make sure I've got the right microphone on. It looks like I do. Okay. Welcome. I'm Christine Weber, and I love to support mature yoga teachers getting their wisdom out there in the world so they can make a difference and they can feel the success and the satisfaction of teaching yoga. So thanks for being here. Today I want to talk about Huberman's physiological sigh and how we can adapt that to make it, more applicable to yoga teachings and how we fit it in. So the first thing I want to say is that any breathing technique that we use in the yoga tradition tends to want to be integrated with other yoga practices, right? So like we do asanas to prepare the respiratory structures so that our breathing practices are more effective. And that is really what makes yoga so different than so many of the breath work techniques that you see out there, is that if you understand, and it's not random, by the way, which asanas you use, if you understand which asanas to use in specific ways to prepare for which pranayama practices, you're going to have more effective pranayama practices. So when you hear something on TikTok or YouTube or on a podcast about, this certain breathing technique, try and think about it of how would you contextualize it into what you already know as a yoga teacher to make it more effective. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, specifically with Huberman's physiological sigh. So it's a very simple technique. You can see him, he teaches it all the time. And so you can watch him doing it on YouTube or TikTok or whatever. And the technique is breathe in and then breathe in a little more and then exhale through the mouth. So that's how you'll see him teaching it. And it's nice. I mean, it's just like a basic self-regulation technique. But like square breath or 4-7-8 breath or whatever popular flavor of the month breath is out there for self-regulation, when we bring it into our system and the knowledge base that we already have, we can make it more effective. So the first thing that I would say about the physiological sigh is try exhaling through your nose instead of your mouth. Why do that? Because you're not blowing off the carbon dioxide as fast, so less risk of like the lightheadedness and that sort of stuff that's not necessarily something we want to encourage in our students. And also exhaling through the nose tends to slow it down. This is not considered an exhale valve, V-A-L-V-E. In the tradition, although there are some, you will see some breathing exhales through the mouth for various reasons. So I should take that back. I should roll that back. It's not that it's not a valve. Technically, it's not a valve, but it is used in some. You will see it used in some practices in the yoga tradition. Then the other thing is, what are you trying to do with the physiological sigh? Well, you're trying to downregulate, right? You're trying to bring the nervous system to more of a parasympathetic state. So what kind of practices do you know that help with that? Like forward bends are really good. So maybe I want to do some standing forward bends with long, slow exhales. Maybe I want to do some lying on the back, knees to chest, Apanasana with long, slow exhales, or the other one, of course, is Chakravakasana, right? So tabletop. I was doing restorative yoga. Could you tell? So tabletop, inhale, child's pose, exhale. So if I'm doing a few of those before getting ready for practicing the physiological side, it's going to make it more effective. So number one, exhale through the nose instead of the mouth. Number two, prepare with some asanas. And then a third point I'll add to the physiological sigh is, why not leverage the potential for suspension? Suspension is the pause at the end of the exhale, which has sort of a catalyzing effect on the exhale. So if I wanted to practice the physiological sigh afterwards, and by the way, you could do it in some asanas too. Like here's another thing you could add to it. Like, why not practice the physiological sigh lying down instead of sitting up? Why not try it lying on your side? Like there's so many different ways you could play with it, right? So what I would add, the other thing I would add is suspension. So inhale a little more, exhale through the nose, and then pause and just see. And I'm not telling you the number to pause with, especially if you're teaching this in a group class. It's more just like see what your body kind of likes and where it wants to go. And then take a few normal breaths in between. So physiological sigh, exhale through the nose, suspend, just letting your breath. And suspension, by the way, it's a kumbhaka. So you have inhale, retain, exhale, suspend. That's from the Vinaya yoga tradition. That's the language that they use. But in Sanskrit, they would say kumbhaka, pause. So inhale, pause, exhale, pause, right? Now, on both the inhale pause and the exhale pause, the sensation is as if you're still going in the direction of the breath. So inhale, pause. The pause is like the breath still comes in, there's still more breath coming in. The exhale, pause. The pause is like the breath is still going out. Right? So that suspension just feels like, oh, it's super easy. And then I breathe in again when my body tells me to. That's the key right there, is when does your body tell you to breathe in again? Because that can be a very difficult thing for many people to be able to ascertain. They're not sure. So in that case, like, you present this practice, like every yoga practice, like every breathing practice, every asana practice, as an exploration. I'm sure the first time you did a warrior pose, it was a very different experience than when you do the warrior pose now, because you learned so much in the process by doing it over weeks and months and years and decades, right? So we start to learn more. And it's the same thing with breathing techniques. The more you do them, the more you tune in, and they give you more information about yourself, and you learn more about your breath patterns, and you learn more about what works for you and what doesn't. So I was just teaching that breathing practice much more comprehensively in the Subtle Yoga Resilience Society. I teach every Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. If you're interested in finding out more about the Resilience Society, please send me an email, respond to this video, let me know, and I'll give you a link so you can look into it. The idea here, going back to the physiological side, is that this is a nuanced practice, and you may start out trying it one way and feel like that doesn't feel quite right, and then start learning by practicing it over and over again, techniques that really work for you. Everybody is different. Your breathing patterns are as unique as your fingerprint, according to science. So the researchers have learned that everybody has a unique breathing pattern. Therefore, every breathing technique is not going to work for everybody. And every breathing technique might need to be a little bit tweaked depending on who you are. The more you practice these techniques, just like the more you practice any aspect of yoga or anything else, martial arts or anything else, the more you learn about your own patterns so that you can start to work with them in a way that's optimal for you. And that's really what yoga is about, is learning better patterns and then shifting the ones that are dysfunctional into patterns that are more functional. Hey, I hope you like this video. I hope it's helpful for you. I would love to hear from you, so please leave a comment and let me know. Stay in touch, and I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for being here. Take care.